Oftentimes we find ourselves so busy in the actions of our day-to-day lives that we lose sight of what truly matters. Separating the urgent from the important, the I have to do this from the I want to do this. If I asked you what pursuit or activity makes you feel the most fulfilled, most alive, what do you value most in life? What is the meaning of life? How would you answer? For some, we've pondered tirelessly at these questions, annoyed at the fact that there seems to be no definite, simple truth that applies to all, but rather this question is incredibly personal and is found throughout time, experiences, and sometimes even trauma. For others, they feel it irrelevant, that the answer to these questions is broad and beyond definition that provides no actionable basis that correlates to improving one's quality of life, social status, or ability to achieve their goals. After reading Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, here's what he has to say about this topic. Frankl was a psychiatrist and a Holocaust survivor. He divides his book into two parts. The first part describing the horrors he endured in the concentration camps during World War II, while the second part focusing more on his theory on the importance of finding meaning in life, which he calls logotherapy, and how that correlates to fulfillment, happiness, and purpose. Everything can be taken from someone, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. This idea of choosing our own way, despite the circumstances we find ourselves in, is something that I think is especially relevant today. We live in a time where it's so easy to feel distracted, overwhelmed, anxious, and uncertain about our future, to the point where we forget that ultimately we still have that power to choose our own path. We may not be able to control the circumstances of our lives, but we can absolutely control how we respond and how we ultimately feel about them. Frankl goes on to highlight that everyone has this duty of being responsibility to find our own meaning and purpose, to live our lives to the fullest. And even in the most challenging of circumstances, we can choose to embrace that responsibility and create a life that is truly worth living rather than bending to every ebb and flow of circumstances. He recounts that even in his darkest times of being dehumanized in the concentration camps, losing loved ones, and left fighting for scraps, that there were always glimpses of hope, kindness, and selflessness no matter where he looked or how dark the situation seemed. A reminder that even in our darkest times, there is always hope. The power to choose our own way, to find meaning and purpose in our lives, is something that can never be taken away from us. Whether you feel overwhelmed with the pressures of society and family, or you think you're expected to somehow have it all figured out by a certain age, a successful career, a happy relationship, and a fulfilling social life, it's easy to get caught up in some idealized version of life that we see on social media. But the reality is that life is messy and it rarely goes according to plan. The events and things in our life is transitory, so don't ever let one event, one mistake, one thing summarize you or your life as a whole. I used to be so fearful of failure, of not living up to expectations. I thought that I had to get everything right the first time or I would quickly label myself as a failure. But the truth is, failure is inevitable. It's a necessary part of the journey towards success and is something we need to learn to embrace, because whenever we overcome failure or overcome problems, we come out with a more expanded version of ourselves and increased in knowledge and experience and outlook on how this contributes to our lives. Frankl mentions that one can discover this meaning in life in 3 different ways. 1, by doing a deed. 2, by experiencing a value. And 3, by suffering. For me, a deed could be starting a full-time job after college. This helped me uncover some false expectations that I had set for myself about how a career would ultimately make me feel and how fulfilling it would be for my creative side. I love and find value in my career for bringing about a sense of technical challenge and opportunity to engage with aerospace, which was an industry I'm passionate about. But in terms of creativity, I discovered that YouTube as a career path more aligns with my interests to create meaningful and inspirational content to help others along the way. Lastly, a value of mine that I have recently been experiencing a lot more of in comparison to the quote-unquote sufferings that were imposed by lockdowns during the pandemic is this idea of community. Graduating from college left this big unknown question in my life of how do I continue to discover new communities that speak to me, my interests, my culture? How do I meet new people, and how do I continue to stay engaged and connected with friends I've made? I've learned that it takes extra effort to stay in touch with people after college, and oftentimes having a smaller close-knit circle is really all I need to feel comfort. Encountering each category in life, whether that's a deed, suffering, or experiencing a value, can either help you further gain confidence in what a meaningful life looks like for you, or it can help you the other way by recognizing what it doesn't look like for you. So if you're feeling lost or uncertain about the future, I urge you to take a step back and reflect on what truly matters to you, what gives you a sense of purpose and meaning in life, and how you can embrace the challenges and struggles along the way. When you're living a good day, what are you spending your time on? Do the sources of information, communities that you're exposed to each day support that type of lifestyle, or does it actually distract from it? In some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds meaning, and he who has a why can bear almost any how. We may not have all the answers right now, but by embracing the journey and finding meaning in our lives, we can live fully and authentically, and that's something that's always worth striving for. Overall, this book was a 7.5 out of 10 for me, and if you're looking for an inspirational, thought-provoking read that offers technical and philosophical insights into the human experience and humans' search for meaning, I'd recommend this book. I've linked it below for everyone in the description. Lastly, something I want to do more of is to really begin cultivating and engaging with this community that I've built here on YouTube. And so if you're new here, welcome. And if you've been here, thank you so much for your support. Every like, every comment, every share, every subscriber really means a lot to me. And so to kind of show that, starting with this week's video and moving on in the continuous videos that are to come, I want to feature some comments. So the spotlight comment for this week's video comes from Andy, and he's from Malaysia, and he talks about his experience growing up in an Asian household and having to deal with your parents' expectations. And I really appreciate his insight on ultimately our role in life isn't to really worry so much about what others think of you or to be liked. It really is to just be authentic and to be your true self. And with that, just thank you, Andy, for being here and for engaging with the content and supporting this channel. Thank you so much for watching this week's video, and I'll see everyone in the next one. Peace out.